Many a time driving home from work, I just thought I could, here's this dump truck coming barreling down the road. I could just steer into that, and hopefully that'll take me out. There was a lot of stuff like that. I remember being in 2000, I think 5 or 6. I was working in the plumbing industry, and there was an explosion on site that wasn't
Over that, and I did that
planned.
for like 10 or
There was no
11 years.
damage.
But I worked for a different boss, and I started to where I couldn't get up when I needed to get up. And I woke up every morning with what I called this feeling of dread. And I had no, I mean, definitely if I had like any, like I had to make phone calls or I had meetings, it would be worse. But even if I had like nothing on the schedule, like if I just kind of had, I could structure my own day, which is my favorite kind of work day. I was waking up with this feeling of dread, which I later came to know is anxiety. Like you just, I think some people don't necessarily wake up with it first thing in the morning, but I did. And then it would maybe get better as I'd feed it with like bad things, to numb that. But it was anxiety. And the fewer substances I use, um, the better, because I do have to sit in that and address it. And I did do a little bit of therapy at Kaiser. They had some like free, like you could do like 6 months. But it was when I went to that 12-step program, even though I'm not in it anymore, and I realized how discontented I was, and that I think was
With
driving my
anxieties to
anxiety,
help them
or
with
it was all
depression
again with my dread.
because it interferes with their daily life. Like they can't get in the car to go to work, or they can't go on a job interview. I've seen many of those different type elements where there are certain things that people love to go out to be with their friends, but they just can't seem to leave the house because there's too much anxiety about actually getting in the car, being around traffic, or being around a different strangers to get to even get to your friends. I've seen people who have dealt with having issues with having evaluations on the job. I myself do not like to do evaluations, but there are some people who have actually panic attacks when it comes to doing evaluations, and they cannot come down
Going
from it.
around in the
And they
last
have
month or
anxiety.
so is single-handedly the biggest pandemic that we will face in this generation, hands down. It is going to affect all aspect of life, business. It is going to affect people of all ages, all race, all demographics, from all walks and all corners of the earth. It doesn't matter if you're a 2-year-old child. It doesn't matter if you have $2 in your bank account or $2 billion. Your life, your livelihood, and your health is going to be severely impacted by the next several months and the outcome of this virus. Good or bad, this virus, this pandemic, is not choosy on its victims.
And
It is not
I
discriminatory.
knew that wasn't normal, but like I said, I didn't have the words for it. Or sometimes when I had to face certain difficult things, I'd spend hours crying, unable to breathe, sobbing, feeling totally fearful, like the world was just caving in on me. And it would be, hard to breathe. And if anyone was ever there to console me, it was always just like, "You're fine. It's really not that serious." And no one ever said to me, "This is anxiety, and this is normal for some people, but it's not your fault. And there is a reason that this chemical reaction is happening in your brain that is making you feel that way. And it's going to be okay, but let's see what we can do about it."
And I
your
realized
brain is
how
just doing-
important it was for me at that time to recreate my inner world, because I was truly crippled. Like when I say crippling anxiety, I mean pulling up my laptop, and maybe you can relate to this if your anxiety is at all related to your work. Pulling up my laptop and in my head being conditioned that when I open up my laptop, I feel this like insane fear that makes me scared of my computer. And so I used to be at a point where I would pull up my laptop and it would strike me with so much stress, so much anxiety, that I felt like I had to go on a run, like right away, to like burn it off, And so every morning, well, not necessarily in the morning, but whenever I would start working, sometimes it was